Each horse one stance, each church one steeple, each master to his own technique. Hi guys. Yeah, I've been thinking, I've been a bit negative recently, talking about stuff, and it definitely is the weather. I feel a lot more down, a lot more angry. I think from now on I'm going to start being positive, talking about thinking more positively. I got a comment, was it recently, about my video, like complaining again. But in the video I explained that my wife has lupus. And so the lady said, lupus is a devastating disease. I asked her indoors, how's her lupus, how are you feeling? And she was saying that she feels okay. And she was telling me about some news of a famous Chinese lady who was into philosophy or poetry or something, and she was just documenting her last days. She has lupus, and she's going to go to like Switzerland for assisted like dying or something. I don't know what it is. And so she was just saying to me, she didn't listen to her doctors really. I think she didn't take medication or whatever, and she didn't explore any alternatives. So I was just saying this to her. I said, yeah, lupus, there are people who have healed themselves or put themselves into remission through various methods. There's a lady, for example, that is on a carnivore diet, and she has lupus, and she's not tired anymore. She feels good, and that's, who is it? Jordan Peterson's wife. She has lupus, but since going on a fully carnivore diet, I won't explain the mechanisms, but she's in remission, right? So there's another lady. You see, there are the books you can get on Amazon of another lady. It seems to affect women, but it can affect men. There's another lady who healed herself via I think some kind of juicing regime where she juiced vegetables, fruits. I'm not sure what else she did, but I got the book for my wife, and she's in remission as well. Like many years, I don't know, 20 years or whatever. She's okay. I got another book for my wife where a lady was, she was told that she had lupus, and she had to do this and that by her allopathic doctor. And so what she did is she turned to Jesus, and she's healed or in remission for like 20 years or whatever, by praying to Jesus every day, praying to God and trusting, and so you might think all these methods are really different, aren't they? What has prayer or praying to Jesus or God got to do with juicing? I mean, totally diametrically opposed. It's not. So I've explained that my theory, or the pillars of health and healing, to my wife. Yeah, I know immediately people are going to say, why don't you use it on yourself first? Well, people tend to do that, don't they? They can help other people, but they can't help themselves. And it's there's my problem. I can see people healing using my method. It's not really my method, it's something that I picked up. Yeah, I suppose it is. I call it my method because I've given it a name, but I think the pillars of health and healing is not really a good name. You got some bloke saying,
Don't try to give medical advice.
Yeah, why not? When doctors say, sorry, there's nothing else you can do, and I tell someone to do something, and they actually listen and do it, and they get into remission, why should I not tell them? Why should I stop someone from having like a few more years of life, or another 20, 30 years of life? Why should you stop me? Because it's not medicine, you haven't got a certificate, you bastard. I don't give a shit if I don't have a certificate. This lady that I'm helping at the moment, her breast cancer has reduced in only a few weeks by 10 millimeters. That's a lot. She is taking chemotherapy, but the oncologist that she saw, you know, she met with the oncologist, and my friend was saying, yes, it's actually smaller and it's softer. It's actually debulked. And the oncologists, like, she told basically what she was doing, roughly, you know, diet, relaxation, coffee enemas, and she just basically stopped, you know. Doesn't believe, because they're allopathic doctors, that's all they believe in. They're so narrow-minded because they believe that their medicine is the number one, which it is, but sometimes it's not enough. And sometimes it can kill you as well. So the oncologist, when she checked her lump, she was surprised. She said, oh wow. She was surprised. She says, I think she said, or maybe the vibe was, I'm surprised that the chemos work so fast. Yeah, it works so fast because she's doing something in conjunction with the chemo. Anyway, I always say I'm not a doctor, so I don't know anything, right? And I always say to my friend, look, ask your oncologist if it's okay to do this. I mean, is it okay to do meditation? The oncologist, imagine the oncologist saying, no, you can't do meditation, you bastard. You might heal fast. I mean, so, yeah, that's quite a controversial subject, you know, healing cancer, yeah, right. So I won't mention it, but don't tell me, for God's sake, don't give people medical don't give people medical advice. Why not? What advice am I giving? I asked my friend to do some HIIT training. It's called HIIT, or high intensity interval training, but which means doing like a workout, like going on the bicycle or sprinting on the spot, you know, at a really, really intense pace, like for 10 seconds. And then let's say you stop for about 30 seconds, and then you do it again for 10 seconds. You know, and so an idiot might say, why are you telling them to do that? They'll get tired. Well, a recent study showed that women with breast cancer who did HIIT or HIIT, I think because of the sheer pressure of the blood pumping through the body, this sheer pressure actually killed or got rid of cancer stem cells. I'm not mistaken, I'll write it down here exactly what the study was. I think, was it 20%, 30% of the cancer stem cells? No, what am I talking about? They had a 20 to 50, a really high percentage of, it affected their, mortality. Mortality was much less, just by doing this. Imagine if you do a combination of things, like meditation has been shown to affect cancer survival rates. Eating like a vegan diet, not eating fried food, junk and stuff like that. So if you put all these things together, the patient might have a better chance. I'm not saying you'll definitely be cured. No. Along with chemo, immunotherapy, radiation, operation, whatever the oncologist advises, you have a better chance, I think. Sometimes chemo almost kills you, and so people have to stop. So you have to have something else. But according to allopathic medicine or doctor, they'll say, that's all we can do for you. You might as well go home and write your will. Because it's true, that's all they can do for you. They're not telling a lie, but because they believe that their way is the only way. You've heard of stories of allopathic doctors. They get cancer and they go to these alternative therapists because they see what chemo can do and they don't want to do any chemo, or they've tried chemo and it hasn't worked. I'm not saying chemo doesn't work, it does, but it's quite a brutal therapy. It can be very brutal. Some women, go through the chemo for breast cancer and they're fine. Some are completely obliterated by it. So it just depends, So Tori, can you go out and take that trolley out, please? So I'm not giving advice to loads of people who are not a doctor. It's just people who ask for it. And when I give that advice, I have to double check, triple check, quadruple check, because I know I'm not a doctor. And I have to, everything I say, I have to back it up with some kind of science, the mechanism behind it, study, some kind of study, maybe a randomized control study or something, because, I don't want to get it wrong. Well, anyway, yeah, so going back to being positive, I said to my wife, why don't you read those books and that I gave you? And she can't find them. I said I'll look for them and then just have a look at those books. She does coffee enemas, so maybe coffee enemas have been really good for her ever since she started. Coffee enemas help the liver to detox, or help by upregulating a sluggish liver. But that's not enough. She should do some juicing, some raw vegetables, like a salad, a raw vegetable diet, or a carnivore diet, or kind of keto diet. The problem is she eats junk. Sometimes she eats like biscuits, stuff like that, fried food, combines, like pork, for example, with rice. That's not very good, according to some scientists, because of the glucose cycle. What's it called? When you combine carbohydrate with I have to go now. I'll speak to you in a second. Back home now. I was thinking maybe to go to some food banks because I'm out of money for 3 weeks. My wife doesn't give me any money because the boiler went kaput and it cost, what was it? Cost a grand. So I have to pay we pay 60/40. I'll pay 60, she pays 40. I have to pay a certain amount of money anyway, 500 quid, 600 quid, whatever it is. I think it's 900 and something. Well, anyway, so every week she gives me 100 for 4 weeks. Like I said, look, just don't give it to me because I don't have the money. And I had a little bit of money in the bank and I gave it all the money I had to her. Plus I have to pay another 4 weeks. That's almost over. Now there's only next week to go. So next Saturday I can get £100 a week again. So, but I'm thinking, if there's a gap between selling the house and getting some benefit, I don't know, I might, or if there's a delay in selling the house, I might have to go to the food bank place because there's lots of things to bloody fix in the house. I might have to do this again, like say, okay, look, for 3 weeks, just don't give me the money. And I think the food banks for pets as well. So I'm gonna have to think about something like that. I'd love to just go out and hunt for deer, but I think you need a license, a firearm. I don't want to use a firearm. I would like to use those, not crossbow, those bow and arrow, and hunt that way. I don't know, through the neck. You'd have to be really good target because they're far away. What are you doing? Is this an ant? No, it's a flying insect tickling my hand. Yeah, or hunt or trap or do something. I know it's cruel, but that's what they eat. They eat meat. So anyway, going back to what I was talking about, I want to be more positive, and it does help because it's a sunny day today. Yesterday was sunny. Today is sunny. It's so great that we're, even in autumn, you have sunny days like this, and I mean really clear. There's only like one tiny kind of faint cloud that I can see, so it's great. I'm gonna go and pick up I'm gonna forage here on our land for stinging nettle, dandelion, herb, Robert, or it's called crane's bill, to bring to my friend. Got apples as well, got some quince, so it's a really good time now because it's a time now it's the end of the apple kind of season, and the apples are huge, about this big, really, so she'll be happy when she gets them. She likes quince, and that's really good as well. And the quince are almost over as well. The harvest is almost finished. So I've got some things on the land, where you don't have to spend money. You can't live off those as well. You could if you catch the old deer with stinging nettle and dandelion and apple and quince. You cook that together, it'll be delicious. But I don't really like the deer meat. I've tasted it before, the ones that have passed away, like roadkill, and cut it up. It's just not nice. They sell it in the supermarket. It's so bloody expensive. And I read on the label, it said there may be some bullet fragments in the meat. I thought, it may affect some people. People who don't want to get lead poisoning, I suppose, or whatever. Bullets are made of lead, aren't they? Metal fragments, anyway. As I was saying, going to think more positively and start to make goals. Maybe spend less time inside in the computer and more time outside. Going for a walk, maybe jogging, doing some very light weightlifting. Because if you do heavy weights, then it affects your les, or the sphincter to the stomach, the doorway to the stomach, and you get more reflux. I think it actually causes intra-abdominal pressure, which is pressure inside the abdominal cavity, and that pressure has to go somewhere. And if your les is, this area is weak, it will open up and will allow liquid to reflux and gases and liquids. So when it comes to her indoors, I'm going to give her advice, but you can give people advice. I'm not really qualified as a doctor or a nutritionist or whatever, but I know some things. Sometimes I've gone to the hospital, and there was a girl who had problems. She felt uncomfortable. She was a lodger, and I took her to the hospital in London, and she had slightly bulging eyes. Her eyes were it looked a bit strange, I suspected she had a thyroid problem. So I just said that to one of the doctors there, and she was checking her jaw as well because it was hurting. So I had to interpret. I just said to the doctor, "Oh, did you suspect TMG or um, trigemin? Sorry, was it temporomandibular joint syndrome or anything like that?" And he said, "Are you medically trained?" I said, "No, I'm just paranoid about my health." So a few people have said that every time I go to the hospital, not every time, just a few times, like doctors have said, "Oh, are you medically trained or have you studied?" I said, No. I always say, "I'm just paranoid about my health," and they smile, and maybe because I use those terms, TMJ, temporal mandibular joint syndrome or dysfunction or whatever. So I know the terms, but I don't really know. I know some of the mechanisms, how things work, how things go wrong, but I don't know enough because I have depression or ADHD or whatever. I wouldn't be able to study. I wouldn't be able to pass exams or do anything. I just do it in spurts. Like I get interested in something and really, really hyper and study it, and then it's too much. Like I'm burnt out. So I can't give any advice because I haven't been able to heal myself. But I suppose maybe I would have been worse, 30 years on medication. Maybe I would have been worse if I didn't do the things that I do. And the things that I do, I don't do it consistently because of the same reason. The guy who said, "Don't give people medical advice," is true. I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm just giving some health advice, how to... Basically, all I'm saying is to change your life. Focus on certain lifestyle factors. And if you put all of these factors together into a system, into a blueprint, you can use it on any person, and that person, I'm not saying they'll definitely heal, but they might heal. They might feel better. Definitely, it won't make them worse unless if they go overboard and like train too much or take too many supplements that they shouldn't take. Even meditation, like you can take it to the extreme. You can meditate so much that it can actually affect you mentally, negatively. And people don't realize that. Like they say, everything in moderation, I suppose. And then once you get used to it, you can maybe meditate a little bit more. Maybe you can eat better quality food. Change things up a bit, shock your body. Like when I was growing up in the late 70s, 80s, I used to read magazines on bodybuilding. They used to say like you have to shock your body into new growth. So instead of doing the same exercises, instead of doing the same exercises for each body part, you would change the exercises. You would do, heavier weights, lighter weights. You would use a different kind of diet, and then a different training schedule. So basically, because the body will get used to that, the exercise that you give it, and then you'll stall. You won't grow. The same thing with other lifestyle factors as well. Nutrition, for example. If you eat the same group of foods, you can actually become, I think, allergic or intolerant to those foods. So you rotate those foods. Supplements as well. Like I never take supplements continuously. I cycle the supplements. So you might take a particular supplement for 3 weeks and then stop for a week, and then take it for 3 weeks again, then stop. So give your body a rest, your liver, your stomach, your body a rest, and see how you feel. And always, if you have the money, if you have the means, don't guess but test. So test to see if a diet is working, or an exercise regime or meditation regime. Test to see if it's working, and make sure you're not going down. And if you're going down and you still want to continue doing it, then keep testing to see when you hit a certain point and then you feel better. Because for some things, you actually feel worse before you get better. And some controversial things, like there was a guy doing the carnivore diet, and his liver and kidney tests were going down, really not very good. And I would have bailed out. I'm such a chicken, I would have bailed out. But his liver function tests were going down after 6 months. And then after, I think, 6 or 8 months, they picked up and they got much better. And, now his liver function test and his kidney markers are great. But I wouldn't have waited 6 months. So, sometimes your body reacts. It takes time for your body to get used to something. Or maybe something, how do you know that your body's will get used to it, or if that thing is toxic to your body? I don't know. That's something that I have to figure out. But I'd like to talk about more positive things. I think people like to hear like drama. They don't like to hear me being more positive, and I don't know. But for myself, if I make videos on the drama all the time, then I'll end up focusing on those things, and my energy will go there. I don't want to do that. I want to change and do exercise and the other things that I wanted to do. My goal in life is a strange one. Something that as soon as I say it, people will say, "Oh, okay, let's go. This guy's a complete nutter," and that's okay. Each person has to have their thing in life. Once in an old martial art film, this master was doing a technique. This kung fu guy was doing a technique, and the other guy looked at him. He said, "What's that?" And he ridiculed his technique. So he said, "Each horse one stance, each church one steeple, each master to his own technique." Call it is it opus? My the great work. Is to. I was interested in alchemy in the past. The alchemists of the past, they tried to find the philosopher's stone, or the elixir of life. I thought I wouldn't be interested in finding the philosopher's stone and this thing that can transmute base metals to gold. I would be interested in the elixir that you get from it, the elixir of life that would transform a human being into a perfect being, or a human being that would be very long lived, almost like an age-arresting drug. And so I've read this in other cultures, Indian cultures, and the Chinese texts when I was in China. Kind of, I don't know why, it just draws me. It draws me to research more. It pulls me, sorry. And that's what I'd like to do. I mean, you can do exercise and, meditate, and you can use, I can use what I've learned so far, my pillars of aging, my pillars of healing and health and healing, I call them. There are about 12 pillars, but the 13th pillar is finding the elixir of life. Why? Because there's only so much that exercise, meditation, supplements, peptides, whatever it is, bariatric chambers, red light therapy, transfusion of certain plasma into your body, stem cell therapy. There's only so much that you can do, and it will extend your life maybe 10, 15 years. Let's say maximum 20 years. But you need that extra thing. You need that something to catapult you either into your next life, something to poison you and then kill you, or something that can actually really extend your life, like hundreds of years. So I know people think it's a load of bollocks, but what's the alternative? The alternative is you die at the age of 90, and I don't want to do that. I want to do something where at least I'm trying. If you take something and you die, well, you're gonna die anyway. Like, there's some alchemists or modern alchemists that have taken substances and they've died. There was a famous one online, not famous in the online community, and he took some substance. I don't know if it was gold or I don't know what he did, and he died of organ failure. His organs failed. I don't know. Why didn't he test this on rodents or pets or something, on plants, or before he ingested it himself? Why? It doesn't make sense. Are you saying you would test it on rodents? Well, I've made a kind of potable gold in the past. It took me many years, and I gave it to rodents, and they're fine. They lived. I gave it to them for a year, so that's the equivalent of giving this to a human being for 30 years. But afterwards, I found out I shouldn't have given it to them because it had like gold chloride, I think 3 cyanide. It was actually some cyanide. I created some cyanide compound. I didn't realize it at the time, and I was advised not to try it on rodents. This was afterwards. I thought I just had gold and I broke it down using just two very simple chemicals, but I didn't realize, only years later, I realized that I found that the chemical, like the equation, I actually got gold cyanide, and I was told not to try it on mice, and I didn't say anything because I already did for a year, and they were okay. Nothing happened to them. So, but I wouldn't take it myself because there's mercury also in the final product. I would do it again, but the materials that I used had too much heavy metals. They had mercury and lead at least. And then I actually got cyanide at the end. I don't know how I got that because I don't know too much about chemistry. But yeah, I was told that. So yeah, so as I was saying, I'm going to start focusing on something positive. And if people don't like it, then that's fine. There's lots of other guys that complain online and, that explain things much better than I do. They're much, they're better at talking. Because I was thinking, what am I doing with my life? At least if I pursue this, if I fail, then at least I fail by pursuing something. At least I tried. People are going to say, oh, I think 95%, I don't blame you guys, 95 maybe 99% of people will say, there's something wrong with you, mate. Why do you want to extend your life? Well, I would say, why do you look when you cross the road in the morning? Or because the extension of that way of thinking is you're going to die anyway, so what's the point in struggling? Well, you're going to die anyway, so what's the point in crossing the road and looking where you're going? Because you're going to die anyway, you might as well just cross the road and let a truck run over you. Why do you cross the road? So why do you try to save your life if you know you're going to lose it? I would say the same thing. Why, if somebody has cancer, why do you have to go to chemotherapy or try and save yourself? Because once the cancer's gone, then you might die of a heart attack. Why save yourself? So I might say this. I could say the same thing. It's because instinctively we want to live, we want to survive. Even if you reach the age of 100 and they say, oh, okay, your time's up now, all right, you have to die, that person would want to still live, I would have thought. I mean, my dad, like when he was in his 90s, he goes, no, I don't want to live anymore. I remember an old aunt, she was in her 90s, 95. There was an auntie, she was passed away 103. At the age of 100, I said, oh yeah, I heard there was a bloke in Asia, he lived to 125 and he's all strong. She goes, no, I don't want to live another 20 years. But obviously, yeah, if you live those last 20 years, in pain, or you can hardly move, you're blind, some people might like living that way, life is life. It doesn't matter, it's still life. Yeah, I have my way of thinking. I think that's the only thing that made me happy. When I was living in China, I was focusing on this. I was looking at those scriptures, the texts, and I was making some kind of potion. And I poisoned myself. My brain was all over the place. I had a really terrible dream. The potion that I made actually affected my dreams really badly. And on one occasion, because I think there was lead and mercury in the final product, I had a tightness in my head, like kind of neurological, like brain symptoms. It was like poison deep in my head. It was weird. It was like a bad trip. I remember once I took this stuff and I thought, oh, it's okay. No, it's white liquid. I had a dream and I was stuck in the dream. I was in limbo. I was like floating in a red or black, I don't know what it was. And I was trying to get to the door. The door would be me waking up. I got to the door. I couldn't bloody open the door. I couldn't open the door. I was stuck. That was scary. It wasn't an out-of-body experience or lucid dream, but it was a dream that was a scary dream. And then I travelled back to London and I took this bloody potion with me. I had to hide it in a plastic container. I had to pass through the Chinese customs, the Russian customs, because I went by train. So in a hotel in Moscow, waiting for my next connection, the train, I had a terrible dream. I dreamt of horses galloping, and you can hear their hoofs. I got out and I saw frames, like the frames of pictures, like the yellow one, like a orange one, a red, a blue. I thought, what the hell is this? Frames and horses. And then suddenly I got up. I was sleeping and I got up And you know what the horse's hooves were? My heart beating. I could feel my heart. Bloody hell. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. It was so horrible. And I still kept taking that the white powder thing. When we had to pass through Poland, right? And then in the middle of the night, you get these guys, they knock on your thing. Passport control. And you have to quickly wake up, with your passport and everything. Yeah, afterwards, there's like they have to swap the not the carriage. The carriages have to underneath of the train has to change because they've got a different system in Europe, in Poland, and a different system in Russia and China, so that so trains can't really come into Poland because they've got a different system. They would derail. So that takes a few hours. Whilst I was there, I was looking outside. It was daytime. I was looking outside the window, and I felt like the train was moving, and I was going like this. Look, I was looking outside. I thought, I'm bloody moving, but I wasn't. I shook my head, and I wasn't. So I had that weird feeling. So then, when I arrived in London, I thought I have to go to the doctor, the GP, and get some kind of toxology report to see if I have some toxins in my brain. But I went to bed, and then 24 hours went by, and I thought it's probably out of my system already. So what's the point? So I have made mistakes, and I wouldn't make those mistakes again. Those are stupid mistakes. Alchemy, if you do it properly, is dangerous. People have died. Those Chinese adepts, they created potions from mercury. Even in Chinese medicine, you have, I think, mercury sulfate? Cinnabar. So it's like a red rock. They make it into a powder, and then I think they still give it to patients. It relaxes you. Yeah, it relaxes you, all right. It's not like mercury, like mercury sulfate or whatever. I forgot the chemical. But it's not easily absorbed. It goes into your stomach, your digestive system, and then it comes out. It doesn't accumulate. It's not like the liquid mercury or even the fumes of mercury. They're bloody deadly. So, and that's what these certain alchemists in China they used. They used to sublimate. They used to sublimate mercury and get a white powder. You can imagine the drop of that. What it's going to do to you. It will send you to your next life. Yeah, so a lot of these alchemical texts are written in a language to confuse. That's why you have. That's where you get the word gibberish from the Arab alchemist Gerber. Don't ask me. He's got what's his name? He's got an Arab name. This is his Arab name. I can't remember it now. Yeah, and he used to write his texts, like most of them, in a language that most people wouldn't understand. You don't understand, and so you get caught in the labyrinth. You don't know what you're doing. So mercury doesn't actually mean mercury. Lead doesn't actually mean red. The red man, the white woman. You don't know what the hell you're doing, and so that's where they get that gibberish from, that confusion. Because ordinary people couldn't understand those texts, so you have to be like initiated or. God has to send you some kind of grace to work it out. Well, anyway, yeah, that's what I want to do, something like that. Or maybe if I can find a way to extend life, it's not out of the realms of possibility. But the thing is, the human lifespan seems to be set to 120. Like there's a French lady who reached 122, yeah, 122 years. She was great. And I think that's where you get all the hype about black chocolate, about grapes, about olive oil, because she used to smother herself with olive oil. She used to drink olive oil, or in her food. She used to eat, I'm not sure, a pound of chocolate, a certain amount of chocolate every week. But also she was rich. She used to play tennis when she was younger, so maybe she didn't have the hardships that other people went through. So the avoidance or avoidance of stress, or not major stressful events, but continued chronic stress throughout her lifetime, maybe that helped her. Genetics obviously helped her as well. Being a woman helps her as well. I think maybe I'll talk about those things, or there's nothing much to talk about. It's just, it takes a long time to study something and then make a video. You can't make a video 3 times a week about alchemy or immortality or whatever. Anyway, speak to you guys in another video. Yeah, so that's what the video is about. I'm just focusing on things that make me healthy. Yeah, my ultimate goal. Just think about my ultimate goal, my purpose in life, and focusing on that will make me happy. You know, whether people like it or not, I'm the one who has to like it. If I like it, you know, I can make some write a novel or stories of immortals or alchemy or something like that. So my interest can help me to earn a living, give me some satisfaction in life. Apart from my children, of course, my children and my doggies, you know, and you guys. Okay, thanks for listening. I'll speak to you guys in another video. Bye.